Hello and welcome to the actual Dragon Shed for my January report this year. It is running at just under 10 degrees even with the heater on in here, so I'm not going to be down here for very long. This time last year I decided on 5 resolutions to kind of carry me through the year. Some I've done well on, some I really haven't, so I'm going to try and do the same thing again. So my first resolution was get back on the wagon. Not drinking, but weight and general health. Now if you followed my reports through the year, you'll know that we had a very sudden death in March, and then we had to say goodbye to Jake in September. So not been a great year, and for all my good intentions they didn't really go much beyond March, really. I've lost in total about 5% of where I was at the beginning of the year. So it's a loss, but I think I gained about 10% around about March, April anyway, so really kind of didn't help myself much there. So I'm going to continue on with staying on the wagon essentially and being as healthy as possible. I want to get back into swimming because I used to swim quite regularly. Although our pool has changed, it used to be a 25-metre Olympic sized pool, so working out how many laps was a mile was quite easy. And now they've reduced it in size to got kind of an adult pool and a kiddie training pool, and there's not written anywhere, no indication of how many laps is a mile, so I suspect it's going to be closer to maybe 60 or 70 laps, which is going to be difficult to keep track of count wise. So I'm going to get hold of those lap counter things, clickers, so that should hopefully help me to keep my pace up. So that's kind of what I'm going to start doing in the new year. One of my Christmas presents this year is gym membership, so you can get in there, because just for a couple of hours in the pool it's getting quite expensive. You know, and it's good for you, so why are they charging you for things that are good for you? But never mind. So I'm going to continue being as healthy as possible. I'm going to try, and avoid salt and sugar and all that kind of jazz. Whether or not that happens, we'll wait and see. But I want to lose another 10 to 15% of where I'm starting at. Now I'm not giving you the numbers because they're frankly quite scary. But I'm looking at losing a couple of stone this year, and if I lose more than that, that would be great. But as it is, I'm staying around about 10%, and if I can maintain losing 10% every year, then that should be a good overall loss, because it's considered healthier to lose it at the speed at which you gained it. So I've gained it over a long period, so losing it slowly is safer, and it's better generally on your body, so you don't go into starvation mode. The thing is, if you suddenly start going all salads and no carbs, then your body fights you. Your body wants the fat, so if you're trying to reduce your fat intake that way by upping everything else, then you kind of get unbalanced and you're more likely to have cravings and that kind of thing. So touch wood, there will be no more tragedies in the family this year, and I'll be able to maintain an even keel so that come September I can start my teacher training and be fit and ready to go. So, touch wood. Resolution number 2 was get organised, and I am pretty much as organised as I've ever been. I'm actually putting together a chart so that I can keep track of my projects and what's upcoming and that kind of thing. So, at least in that regard, I'm planning, and I intend to actually keep to the plan, because over the last year I keep kind of chopping and changing things around too much. So I want to avoid that as much as possible and actually have a plan that I stick to, which makes everything easier, and considering I want to get as ahead as possible for September, having it planned so I know what I'm doing, then that's going to be a lot easier, hopefully. Resolution number 3 was get better at stuff. Now for an English graduate that's a really bad way of putting it, but essentially that's kind of what I've been doing down here. I've been challenging my abilities on the scroll saw and other things so that I can develop my skill level. Admittedly, I'm going to be teaching English, so use of the scroll saw is not vital, but this is my relaxation, this is my release, so I can leave all the school stuff behind and get on with things I want to do, because I know it's going to be stressful. Teaching always is, and teaching at secondary school level is more fun, really. So I expect I'll need the relaxation, I'll need the space, so having a shed is a wonderful thing. Resolution number 4 was, staying with 3, I want to improve my editing. Over the last year I've kind of experimented with time-lapse and voiceover and that kind of thing. I'm not entirely sure which is better, whether to have a completely silent video or to have one with the voiceover. I'm not getting the visits to my blog, so I don't know if people aren't actually getting what I'm doing on the screen and not looking it up. For every project I do a full write-up on the blog, so they kind of come hand in hand. So I'm going to try and develop my editing more so that I can do sound effects or background music and that kind of thing, and add to it and make it more interesting, because at the minute it's just kind of quite dry and kind of boring with no music, especially if it's all time lapse. There's nothing to kind of keep your attention necessarily. That might be one of the problems. Although one of my videos, the Bib and Burps, last time I checked I was running at 27,000 views. Now the next most popular one has only got about 70. So I'm sure that someone must have shared that to a new mums or that kind of blog or something. But you know, it would be nice to have a bit more kind of a balanced view, because it kind of throws my numbers off completely. My numbers show that I'm in the hundreds of views, and I'm not. I've got 100 videos, but I've got 27,000 views on one of them, so everything's a bit skewed. So yeah, I hope to get some more views in general. Yeah, so resolution number 4 last year was be useful, and I think I did that in the 3-minute skills I've done, and my Save a Life September, it's all first aid. I'm probably going to extend that, do more about specific conditions and things next year, or this year. So that's hopefully going to make September a little easier to do, because I suspect I'm going to be organising stuff for school at that point. But I'm going to change number 4 to finish stuff. I am not great at completely finishing a project. Generally woodworking projects, I get them near enough. You know, they get a layer of finishing, a bit of sanding, and they're done. So I really need to kind of up the quality so they're better for sale. And just actually finish things, get things kind of tidied up. I've got, I actually wrote 3 novels and a whole load of short stories, and I really need to sort them out. I started serialising the novels about 10 years ago, and I got halfway through the second one and got bored. So I need to finish that, and I'll talk about that later on, because I'm going to do something for 3-minute skills with regards to story writing. Yeah, and resolution number 5 last year was 100 subscribers, and I passed that number in June or July. So I also sent a message to subscriber number 100, offering them something made in the shed, and they haven't got back to me, which is disappointing. But I think this year, as I've got to 100, or got to 100 really quickly, I'm going to push and say 500 subscribers for this year. And subscriber number 500 is going to get something made out of the shed for them in particular. So that's my resolutions for this year. So with luck I'll be able to keep them and maintain everything the way I want it to be. So the projects for this month. First of all, the Scroll Saw project isn't going to be the first one of the month because it's too cold to scroll saw down here. So I'm going to give you one I actually made in August. It's got resin on it, so needed the warmth. This is the kind of my backup video that I've had sitting there in case something happened, so I could just throw it on to kind of fill a hole if I had an issue in the shed. So this is a CD mosaic stack of boxes. So using old CDs and resin to make a really nice jazzy pattern. My dragon food this year is going to be my first Weight Watchers recipe. Apparently Weight Watchers, it was forwarded to me through Pinterest. It's a campfire stew, which is neither cooked on a campfire or a stew. So, interesting. As I said before, my 3-minute skills for this month is going to be story writing. And I'm going to focus on character, plot and editing, because they're kind of the 3 things you really need to think about with the story. So I'm not doing this in any kind of egotistical way saying I'm a great writer. I'm not. I've self-published. I haven't actually been published story-wise. I've had poems published, but not stories. So I can't say that I'm a big published writer, but this is just kind of through experience. And it's kind of the beginning of teaching. When I start teaching, I want to be able to teach story writing in a way that makes sense, because the systems I use at the minute really don't. So this is my idea of story writing. And then for the project is going to be the scroll sawing element. My door sign has had a problem. So if you're on my Instagram, you would have seen when I put this up. This was the first post I actually did on my Instagram as my Beware of the Dragon sign. And with all the wind and weather, this was still hanging on the door and that was in the dirt. So I made myself a new sign. I haven't yet decided what I'm going to put onto it. I want to do one of those really kind of interesting memes. So I've got a list of about 50 of those I want to pick from. So it's going to be a toss a coin and see what happens. And then, because we've got 5 Wednesdays in January, I've got an extra project which is essentially a fidget toy. Now this is a triple ring. It's made of veneer using the CA glue ring technique, and I made a number of these for cracker gifts and that kind of thing this year. I really like it. It's a nice fidget toy that doesn't distract other people necessarily. So that's going to be number 5 for this month. So yeah, that is pretty much the plan for this month and for this year. So I'm going to carry on sorting out my planning, and I'll see you